here at the Laguna Hills Nursery in Santa Ana, California. Third generation Leah here in Hi, my name is Charles Malky, biologist and plant expert with Ivory Organics, where we grow cool plants. And today I've got the honor and privilege of being next to second generation owner for the Laguna Hills Nursery, Gary, and third generation Leah here in Santa Ana, California. When you come here, you can expect to find a huge selection of all of the different types of plants you're going to want to look for. Figs I already mentioned, huge selection of figs. In addition, you'll find a huge selection. I saw 10 varieties of blueberries here. When it comes to apples, again, another dozen varieties, maybe more that you can find here as well. And the list just goes on and on and on. You name the plant, there's a lot of selection. If you don't find what you're looking for, Gary and Leah and one of the most experienced, most knowledgeable sales staff will also be there to help you, all of them being trained in horticulture or plant sciences as well, right?
Yes, we have a very skilled crew, but our customers are the ones that help us the most. We have a lot of smart customers, and they inquire about all the unusual things, and we try to fill their needs.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for the intro, and why don't we take a tour of just how spectacular this property is and share that with the viewer.
Very good.
Let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
So here we are now with Leah in the herb and vegetable garden section of the property, and there's row after row after row of a whole bunch of different vegetables, herbs, and tell us what else we can expect to find in this section.
Well, here there's a few special things like green tea plants, the Camellia sinensis, some comfrey for fertilizing your garden. We have figs under every table that we're growing ourselves. So it's kind of weird to see like things on the ground, things on the tables, things hanging, but you're surrounded by edibles and veggies, things that are found on your kitchen table and your fridge. If there's ever anything you're looking for, we try to find it. And if we do, then we grow it for everyone and share it with the world.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Leah. And how about if you give us a tour? We'll start over here on this side of the property, and I'll follow you with the camera, and let's see just how massive the vegetable selection is. And in addition to finding a lot of the common varieties, there's going to be a lot of specialty varieties. You listen to the customer and you meet demand, and you've got a lot of the more rare varieties of things that are desirable, and customers can find those here.
Yes.
Well, let's start the tour.
Okay. So welcome to the herbs section. And this is where we have like our perennial herbs, some annual herbs like parsley, thyme, sage, oregano. Right here we have a cage over our catnip because the cats will sit on it and eat all of it if we don't protect it. Another unique thing that's hard to find is lovage. This one tastes like celery, but it doesn't get the thick stalks. You eat it like in soups and salads. And those are some of the homegrown things that I grew. We have loads of different times, probably about 5 or 6 different varieties. And then we have some unique things from different growers. Like this one's from Sea Grows. It's a different type of water spinach. Some other homegrown things that I got from school are the comfrey plant. That's a good fertilizer and nutrient accumulator that you can use to fertilize the rest of your garden. And it gets pretty large, but it's really easy to propagate, and you can spread the love around. We also have some passion fruit, which is one of my favorite fruits. So I have 5 different varieties growing in this whole area, climbing up the trellises. Like there's one over there. They kind of still look a little wintered, but in the summer they green up really fast. Pineapple sage, that's a really delicious one. And there's a new one out called honey melon sage. That's another fun variety. We also have like bay leaf if you like to cook, different sages, green shiso for Asian culinary dishes. And over here we have some tomatillos growing. Those grow very fast, as you can see. They're so cute. This side we have our cucumber, squash, there's some corn. The nice things about this area, we have a lot of 6-packs. So you can buy a whole bunch of plants for $4, or you can buy a single plant if you don't have a lot of space for $3. So it's not too much of a difference in price, but you do get a lot more if you have a 6-pack. There's lots of different varieties of this cucumber, squash. Right now is the perfect time. Corn, we also have this okra. Those grow very fast. They love the heat. Another fun one is the rhubarb. These get pretty big, but they start out as little babies in these little pots. Another fun thing are the fava beans. Those get really large, and I have samples throughout this area of what they look like when they grow larger. So like over here, we have the mother bush with the beans already on it. So you can see how they look when they grow larger. I like to do that with a few things here and there. Yeah. And I like to cook them edamame style. There's a lot of different ways you can cook the fava beans. They also call them broad beans. Then also here we have all our tomatoes. Pretty soon we'll have larger ones to show how they grow. There's a ton of different varieties. Be famous. Buddha's very friendly. He's our greeter, the nursery greeter. Here we have a really large section of peppers. It's hard to fit them all, but I did my best with 3 layers. So some of the really popular ones this year are the chichimeca. This one is similar to a jalapeno, but supposedly a lot larger and great for stuffing. So I grew one of these at my house this year, and we'll see if we can get some stuffed peppers. Another really scary one, but sought after, is the ghost pepper. We ran out of the Carolina Reapers for now, but we also carry those really hot, scary, if you want to burn yourself. Another really delicious one of my favorites because it's beautiful, is the lilac bell pepper. If you want to add some color, I can handle it because there's no spice. And yeah, it makes a rainbow salad. Yeah, so we have a lot of different colors of the bell peppers. And then if you want to make stuffed peppers too, we have the ancho poblano. Those are the really large ones that you can stuff with cheese for chili rellenos. So fun.
So Leah shared with us the 6-packs on cucumbers, and I know a lot of the big box stores typically don't sell the 6-packs because they get to sell a lot more of those individual plants and get a bigger profit. I love the fact that they've got the 6-packs here, and you can get so much more of the great varieties of produce and herbs that you're looking for. So in addition to the 6-pack of cucumbers that she showed, there's also celery, tomatoes, peppers, and just next to me, 6-pack basils. I typically buy the individual plant and then have to break them apart in order to get more plants out of the individual ones, where they usually have a few seeds in that individual pack. But here you can get your 6 ready to go and into your property. And over here to our right is what? There's so many other unique plants that you otherwise can't find at a lot of the other nurseries. Some specialty plants like, what's over there?
Right here we have green tea.
So here we are in another part of the property, and it's not just here. Throughout the entire property, there's a lot of rare varieties of plants you typically won't find at the big box stores or even the smaller nurseries. The Laguna Hills Nursery truly specializes in getting the things that consumers want. They listen and they have it. For example, what do we have over here?
This is Camellia sinensis green tea.
So, green tea.
Yep.
That's
green
awesome.
tea.
And how would you use it?
Well, the best way to harvest it is the last 3 leaves below the axillary tip.
I'm gonna hold that for you, and let's bring it closer.
So all this new growth right here, you would use these 2 leaves right here and that one. And so each time you cut the tips,
Yeah.
it branches out more, and then you just keep harvesting the very tips that has the most sugar content.
And then you would simply use it fresh, or is it necessary to dry it before you use it?
Right.
How's it recommended?
There's different methods to making different types of tea. So out of this one bush, you could make green tea. You do steam the leaves and dry them out. You could do black tea and white tea and oolong tea. All different types with just one plant.
That's great. There's another cool one right behind the green tea that caught my eye is
The taro.
taro. Let's pick that up.
Taro, this I started from the small variety, and this one you can cook, steam, or make desserts even out of this root.
So I know when it comes to the taro plant, check out how beautiful these leaves are. It'd be a nice ornamental addition to the property, but the roots, and I can see that it's also multiplying here at the base. You can see there's all these little babies, just like the pups on a banana, for example. Assuming you can probably pull them apart and create more plants, or that's how they're typically propagated.
Exactly.
And taro, the last time I never actually even seen the plant. So cool to see it here, but I love those taro boba teas that you can sometimes get at some of the tea shops.
Yeah, they're delicious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it comes from a plant.
And then we've got the more common, what's over here?
Blueberries.
So right in front of the green tea and the taro plants, there's a huge variety and selection of blueberries, and Leah's holding on to one of those right now. What variety do you have?
This one is called Misty Blueberry, a variety that does really well here in Southern California.
So this here is called the Misty. Let's share the blueberries that are on here. Check this out.
So delicious.
So you got the green and the blueberries ready to go. Is that all right if I pick?
It's time to go.
It's going to take one so the rest of the customers can see these blueberries. That's awesome. Very delicious. What are some other varieties of blueberries we have here?
Right here we have the Sunshine Blue, the South Moon, O'Neill, Jubilee, on this area. And then over there we have some plugs that we grew these ourselves last spring. So all of these bushes are 1 year old.
Oh,
and
wow.
then if you want to see what they look like when we start them, they're little plugs like this big.
Oh, that's so
we
cool.
have like 5 other varieties too.
So there's about 10 varieties of blueberries you can find here, starting with little plugs to 1 gallon size containers that are bearing ripe and delicious fruit that you can enjoy today.
Yep.
So cool. Well, let's continue the tour. So one of Leah's specialties is the herb and vegetable garden section, but another one of her passions is right behind me, and that's growing succulents.
Yes.
Tell us about your succulent passion, obsession that you've got going on behind us.
Well, all these little succulents I handpicked myself, but there you can really find a big range of small ones, short ones, spillers, thrillers, the ones that just multiply like crazy. Most of them do, but yeah, we have all different sizes too, like the 2-inch, we sell them for $2. The 4-inch sizes are around $4 to $5, depending on the varieties.
So smallest succulents, if you want to start accumulating them, starts for as little as $2. You can start buying some succulents here, and it graduates to what size container? A gallon? Bigger?
5 gallons. Is
So-
probably the largest.
So up to
Yeah.
5 gallons. And how many varieties of succulents would you say are here behind me?
100.
So you got 100 varieties to choose from, and give us a tour. I'll follow you.
Yeah. So here in these flats, I usually have a lot more, but they've been selling like crazy. We have all the minis, lots of little sedums, crassulas, the little bear paws, the panda plant, that's a kalanchoe. There's lots of different varieties. These sizes. So the neat thing about these little guys is you can start them small and watch them grow. And they will start as this little baby, and they can get up to like 6, 8-inch size in a matter of months.
Cool.
Yeah. There's a lot of varieties here. And then we do carry a lot of the flats. Most are in our ground cover area, but this one's Little Missy Sedum. Those are really fun spillers or fillers. Our little specialty cactus. These are $8. We have some that are starting to bloom already. And little pachypodiums. So on this side we have like the hens and chicks. Those are sempervivums. They love the heat and the sun. These are really fun, the stone rocks, rock succulents. They get a little flower. These, as they get more sun, they turn red. More types of echeverias. So these are the opuntias. This one's a special one. It's a twisted opuntia, so it just looks a little different. They get a beautiful yellow flower, and you can eat the fruit that it forms and eat the pads that they grow. And then this one right here is a smooth, straight petal. Those get orange fruits. Still beautiful flowers, but watch out, they're prickly. So along this side of the wall are some of our more larger specimens of succulents, like the aloes. These get the really large red flowers. We have the agaves. We have some palo verde trees. One more of the ocotillo plant. That's a really fun one. And then some more agaves over here, like the octopus, the foxtail.
So here we are now next to Gary's Best Soils. There's 2 varieties, one being the top pot and the other the acid mix. And Gary's gonna go into more detail about the 2 different varieties. But Gary's only one of 2 people that taught me this a couple of years ago about a concept known as permanent soils. Can you tell us a little bit about permanent soil?
Yeah, the soils in nature are based on mineral. The soils generally tend to be in nature 99% or more mineral and less than 1% organic. And if you have an organic soil, then you don't have a permanent material because it does decay and shrink over time, especially in reaction to water. The other problem would be is that in reaction to water, plants like water. They don't really hate water, or they like water, but the oxygen content has got to be 6 to 8 parts per million for most plants to do well. The water district knows that that's what they have to put in the water to keep the plants and the fish from dying when you apply the water to ponds or to your plants. The only thing that'll lower that is if you have pieces of dead stuff in the water, like you encounter in a sewer. So then the oxygen level drops low, and that's when root rot occurs, is when that happens. So we make sure in our products that there is nothing that will lower the level of oxygen in the water when you water. So you can water pretty much as you like, and nothing really happens. I mean, in agriculture, they know that too much water does not hurt the crop. They waste their pocket money, but that's about it.
That's very interesting. And you're also, again, one of those two people that taught me also when it comes to the traditional planting method of doing the 50% compost. If I'm doing a compost that's based on a lot of, forest products, and stuff that's going to decay and break down very quickly in a matter of weeks or just a couple of months. But if you do that traditional planting method of 50% native soil with your 50% compost, and you plant it in the ground, in a matter of weeks, as that compost breaks down, the plant will settle. And I've seen so many growers with plants that fail and ultimately die, or they also get a phenomenon known as stem rot because they've settled so deep in the ground, and then the soil that builds up against the stem leads to that phenomenon known as stem rot. And Gary's Best Soil is, again, a permanent soil mix, as it doesn't have all of those products that break down rapidly, leading to plant settling, is the ideal product for using for your potted plants, as Gary's taught me, your in-ground plants as well. And you want to tell us a little bit more about the soils?
Okay, the acid mix we developed first, we wanted to use a permanent material like pumice rock, volcanic rock, to make it. But we noticed that it wouldn't hold enough water for the entire day, so we asked the people at UC Riverside what holds moisture the best, and they told us peat moss, and peat moss relatively slow to decay, 5 years at least. So we combined the two and got a soil that to this day is a very good growing medium that will last a long time, although it shrinks a little because of the peat moss being about half the volume. So we wanted to make a soil for trees and shrubs that wouldn't shrink, and that's called our top pot. So this is about 2/3 permanent material. We find at that volume we don't get any shrinkage. We think that even though it has 1/3 peat, the peat moss doesn't contribute to the volume of the soil. It's sitting between the larger particles of sand, volcanic rock, sponge rock, and charcoal, so it doesn't contribute to the volume of the potting soil. So this we can put in a pot or in the ground, and there's no real reason why soil should not work both ways, and our soils can be used both ways, in the ground or in pots. But this one won't shrink at all, and when we have trees in it, they never lean either because the soil's not collapsing below them. So we like to make sure that the plants have not only a permanent soil, but a very stable soil too. Okay, so one of the things we know about soil and water is that most plants, irregardless of what you hear, like water. Even succulents like water. They don't hate water, but here we have, for a lot of plant material, avocado, citrus, your nurseries warn you not to water them too much, and thinking that the water is going to hurt them. But we tell you, plants, even succulents, love water. If you have the right soil on them, or Gary's Best top pot potting soil for these succulents, you can water every day. They just grow faster. But if you have the wrong soil, a compost or dead plant material around the roots, that's when the water combined with the dead material causes trouble to the roots of these plants. They don't want rotten bodies next to them. But in real dirt, they're happy with ample. Okay, so our succulents, the succulents that you're seeing right here are in our Gary's Best top pot potting soil. And because that soil is basically inert material, it's peat moss, which is a unrelated plant that died thousands of years ago and decomposes very slowly. It's essentially inert, plus volcanic rock, sponge rock, sand, and charcoal, all inert materials. There's no reaction with water. You can water these succulents as much as you like and they're not going to rot. The rotting occurs if the oxygen level within the water drops too low, but unless you have something dead in the water, it doesn't happen. So that's the advantage of a good potting soil, is it doesn't rot the things that you're trying to grow on there.
So here we are now in the food forest of fruit trees here at the Laguna Hills Nursery, and we're surrounded by apples and plums and peaches and
Pluots, persimmons, jujubes,
avocados,
pomegranates.
pretty much any fruit tree your heart desires. Chances are you're going to find it here at the Laguna Hills Nursery. And what I also wanted to highlight is that the trees from the nursery, whether it's here or anywhere you go, they're typically in groups and they're shading and protecting one another, whereas when you take them home, they're standing alone and susceptible to burn. And I was hoping that Gary can explain the risks with sunburn and the protection that those plants can benefit using the Ivory Organics Whitewash and 3-in-1 Plant Guard products.
So anyway, when we get temperatures about 100 or more, that's when plants are susceptible to sunburning. Now in nature, it doesn't happen as often. We'll demonstrate with this seed-grown tree. Generally, when you grow a tree from a seed, it's extremely symmetrical, like a Christmas tree. And the only thing that really the sun can touch are the leaves. However, everything we grow are from cuttings grown or grafted. So this is a grafted avocado tree here. And because it's an old plant grafted onto a new part of a plant, they grow like an old plant. They grow funny shaped. They're not symmetrical. So on this plant, there's a lot of surfaces that the sun can touch and burn. Whereas if it was grown from a seed, you get an avocado from a seed. This is an avocado that's grafted.
I want to bring it one little bit closer so they can see that. So this here is the media that's supporting the roots, and here's the seed. It's rooting down into this plastic bag that's containing the roots. This here is the root stalk right up to the rubber band that you can see that's securing the graft, and then the graft has grown up, has since been pruned, and now it's going off into this angle. So just wanted you to see the configuration of this grafted, what appears to be a holiday avocado.
Yeah, so one of the problems we have when you clone plants is that they're different from being a baby. They're not as symmetrical a growth as they are when they're grown from seeds. So they do have a problem at protecting themselves from the sun. So we have to do that ourselves.
So this here is an example of a plant or a tree that was started by seed, right?
Right.
And the goal in regards to symmetrical, you can see that it's pretty much going straight up, as Gary just mentioned, more of a Christmas tree shape. And I just wanted to highlight, if you take a look at the base, you can see that there's a lot of sucker growth happening that's naturally offering protection to the primary trunk and the other branches within the tree structure. Something you won't find when it comes to a grafted tree that's being trained to have more of a tree in an upright form and now susceptible to burn on those sides that are now exposed to too much sun.
And the same with cutting grown trees like figs and pomegranates. They still don't have that symmetry that nature provides.
It's great. So you can find the Ivory Organics 3-in-1 Plant Guard and Whitewash products here at the Laguna Hills Nursery, and they've been supporting the Ivory Organics products since, I believe, 2017. So we really appreciate that. So we really appreciate them for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So from here, let's go and check out your huge selection of roses. I believe there's over 100 varieties of roses you can find right here at the nursery. And again, if you can't find the rose you want, you can special order it. So let's go and check those out. So roses are one of the most versatile and well-adapted plants to growing in the home garden. And what better place to find the best variety of rose for your property than here at the Laguna Hills Nursery, where we're surrounded by about 100 varieties of roses. And again, if you can't find what you're looking for, Gary and his sales team will help you find it. Tell us a little bit about your roses.
Well, we pretty much concentrate on the ones that our customers really want. And most of them are the cutting roses, which are the hybrid teas. So we have maybe 60 varieties of those alone. But we do carry landscape roses and tree roses also for people who want to use them for special effects in the garden.
So about 60 varieties of the cutting hybrid tea roses, ground cover roses, and what was that third variety?
Tree roses.
And then the tree roses, of course. So I wish you were all here just to smell how beautiful the perfume scents are of all of these roses are in full bloom. And you also said when it comes to roses, they pretty much bloom when and how frequently?
throughout the growing season.
So throughout the growing season, as long as you got warm temperatures, no matter where you are in the country, you should be successful growing roses on your property. And consider doing that and learning more from the Laguna Hills Nursery. And you can find out more information as well by going to the LagunaHillsNursery.com website, where there's a ton of information that you can find there. In addition to, I'm going to include the link to the YouTube channel where Gary goes into more detail about a variety of topics, including rose care. So check those out as well. So in conclusion, do you want to share with the viewers how can they get here? What's your address?
It's 1829 North Tustin Avenue in Santa Ana. We're close to the 55 and the 5 freeways and the 22.
Wonderful. And I know you're surrounded by these cities. Even though your address is Santa Ana, you got Tustin on one side, you got Orange on the other side. Freeways, they all intersect here. The 22, the 5, what else comes here?
55.
And the 55. So I mean, it couldn't get any more easier to get here. So come down to the Laguna Hills Nursery, and if you've enjoyed this educational video, be sure to give us a thumbs up, and most importantly, don't forget to subscribe and hit that push bell notification to get informed of the next educational video by Ivory Organics. I'm also going to put the link to the Laguna Hills Nursery YouTube channel, which is called, Leah, do you want to share with us? What's the name?
Gary's Best Gardening.
Gary's Best Gardening, and it matches his Gary's Best Soils that we talked about earlier as well. So be sure to come down and check out all of these very amazing and fine and interesting products to add to your gardens to make this your best growing season ever, and especially with these extremely knowledgeable sales staff. Thanks again for watching, and wishing you all
Thank you.
happy gardening.